Next in line is the application class, which you'll find inside of the SSD folder. Above the class definition, we're going to specify the namespace, which is obviously SSD in our case, then use, and we're going to be using MySQL extension of the SSD database extension and MySQL. So obviously make sure this use case here is specified as well. Now this application class is not being instantiated anywhere. We will be extending this class. Obviously we already extending this class, so we can specify this as an abstract class. So abstract class application. Now what we're going to do is remove this public DB property, create a few new lines, and we're going to specify protected underscore capital D lowercase b for the database instance. Then we have protected underscore table, and then we're going to have public ID. These are the properties which we're going to be sharing later on with all of the classes that extend our application class. Inside of the constructor, we're going to have, rather than DB, it's going to be underscore DB, and it's not going to be new DBase, it's going to be new MySQL. Because obviously we're using this MySQL extension, which obviously inherits all of the properties and methods stored inside of the database class. So now our database instance is ready. Let's scroll down and create a few new methods, which we're going to be sharing with all the classes that extend our application class. The first one will be called select one. So rather than select one is get one. So public function get one, and we're going to pass the ID of the record we want to get and field, which is obviously optional. By default it's going to be ID. And now we simply return this underscore DB select one. We specify this underscore table, and then ID, and the last one is the field, and that's all we have to do. So now whenever we're going to be retrieving one of the records from the database, we need to make sure that obviously the class from which we're calling this method has the table's property specified, which is a table from which we're going to be fetching the record, and all we have to do is call this get one method and provide one parameter, which is the ID of the record we want to get from a database. So that's our get one method. The next method is going to be called insert, public function insert, and we pass in the array, by default null. Inside of this method we start with if this underscore DB insert, and then we pass in this underscore table and array. If insert was successful, then this ID, this underscore DB ID, which is basically the ID of the record we've just inserted, return true, otherwise return false. So that's our insert method. If we scroll down, the next method is called update. So public function update, array as first parameter, ID as the second one, and then simply return this underscore DB update, this underscore table, and then array and ID, which record we want to update. So that's update method, pretty straightforward as you can see. And the last one will be public function delete. We pass in the ID of the record we want to delete, and then simply return this underscore DB delete this table and the ID of the record we want to remove. So these are four most common methods that we're going to be using throughout the entire system. That's why we've defined them in the application, and whenever we need to remove the record, we only need to call now obviously this delete, provide the ID, and the record is going to be removed obviously from the table, which is a table name assigned to obviously this underscore table property.